Go, they came off without much of a fight. Now if you're of a certain age you may remember these. And finally for today, this, I've never seen one of these before. Let's get the trusty standard moved. Move the big cat.
Something that we have to address sometime soon.
Slightly lighter shade to one that a friend of mine's dad had. I love the old map and the driving gloves. I spotted this Harrier, Royal Navy Harrier. We are down in the V8 Pilot. That's the former RAF Slape airfield. It's a glorious evening. Welcome to the Old Classic Car channel. It's one of those sort of riveting evenings. It's just got that kind of vibe to it. So, as we have the Pilot over here with the bonnet up, I'm going to have a look and just see if I can improve the look of the underbonnet area. I'm not really one for having engines on show at shows because it's never, none of my cars are that presentable under the bonnet, and I mean this battery, even though it's highly effective, it doesn't really look particularly in keeping. But one thing I can do something about are these horns. Matching pair of horns, high and low I'm guessing, but yeah, it's got an H on there. I'm not sure if you can see that. But yeah, these should be black all over. This isn't correct, nor is this silver top, so it's a nice little evening fiddle job just to remove the screw on the top of each of them, take those off, and I think we will give them a quick rub down and give them a quick dousing in satin black paint, I think, just to make them look a little bit more subtle than they are there, because that's not right at all. At some point I also plan to repaint the header tank, the brass header tank. It shouldn't be polished brass, it should be black. The brass cap is correct, but this should be black as well, so at some point we will paint that as well. But I think tonight we'll make a start at any rate on the matching pair of Lucas horns, high and low, and just make them look a little bit more as Henry Ford may well have expected them to look. Although by all accounts he wasn't a big fan of the V8 Pilot, but we won't dwell on that. But yeah, firstly let's go and get a screwdriver, and then we can remove the top of those horns and we can make a start on making them look just a little bit better. Now, is that big enough? It probably will be. It's actually a little bit bent, isn't it? Need to straighten that out, but never mind. Right, let's go and see. I've not tried these, so I don't even know if they'll come out. Yeah, that's turning. So we can switch the camera off and we'll come back once those are off. Oh, there we go, they came off without much of a fight. Nothing much really to see there, but I think they will come up looking pretty well. There, the insides. Obviously these red intakes look very, very wrong as well, so I'll probably repaint those, but I'll probably do those in situ. It saves having to disconnect them and remove them and all that kind of thing. They look pretty clean inside, so all I need to do is go and find some sandpaper. I'm not sure what these have actually been painted with. It's not smooth right, it's just some very, very thin. I think originally it was chrome. Yeah, I think these ones in particular were chromed and they've been painted maybe to tone them down a little bit, so I think they need toning down a little bit more, i.e. with some black rattle can. So let's go and find a bit of sandpaper and just rub those down a bit. It's just little jobs like this that are quite pleasant on an evening like this. It's a little bit breezy, a bit chilly, but yeah, compared to all the rain we've had recently, this is very agreeable indeed. Sun is still quite high in the sky, so that's all quite encouraging. Anyway, concentrate, let's focus on the job in hand. Oh, we're getting there slowly. Okay, well that's stage one done. Both rubbed down pretty smooth, and I think ready for a spot of the old grey primer. Now I've consulted my paint stores. I've got some of this pretty cheap looking black gloss, a bit left in there, so I think that is what we will use because that is what we have in. So yeah, and it's a bit chilly this evening, so I don't know how quickly this is going to dry off, but it'll be alright I think, and it'll certainly look better than silver, I reckon. Well, with the primer on, I made a start on painting the horns using this. That one's half used and this one was brand new, but needless to say neither of them actually spray. So Auto Extreme Professional spray paints, that's not really good enough, so I need to go and have a look now, see if I do have any black paint at all in stock, because otherwise these will be going back on looking like that, which isn't exactly what I had in mind. Well, I wasn't exactly planning on brush painting them, but that is all I have in at the moment, and I don't want this to drag on. I want these back on this evening, so we will give this a whirl. Some black gloss, which should be perfectly adequate for the job. I've got a half decent brush here I think. Oh, that should do the trick. That's all nice and clean. This is ready to accept some paint, so I think I will get on and do that and film it afterwards once they have dried, because inevitably I'll get some paint on my hands and I don't want to get it all over the camera. So I will report back once I have wielded the brush. Oh, there we go. I think they will come out pretty good by the time they've dried. They're soaking wet at the moment, so obviously I was going to spray these and they would have dried in about 5 minutes, but the brush on, that's not going to happen, so I've closed the door to minimise the breeze and the chance of flies coming in and settling on them. I mean, we're not going for concours, but basically as long as they don't draw your eye to them, then that's job well done. And there are the repainted horns. Repainted these because these have been painted in something silver, and also the intakes, which have been painted red, which didn't look really in keeping, so I think that looks a lot better. I've also removed, there's a big heavy duty red cable running along here, which is a legacy of the failed electronic ignition installation, which I binned and featured in the previous video. I also, while I was at it, I also repainted the top of the radiator header tank, as that had been polished back to brass, but it never would have been brass, so I think that looks just a little bit more in keeping, at least for me anyway. So what have we been buying today? Well, firstly, I can never resist an old wooden box, and here we have an old wooden box. And this apparently originally housed the Lion Menu Cater, the British Lion Menu Cater, the number 2 model. What that was is anybody's guess, but I'm a bit of a sucker for old boxes. They're always good for storing like car bulbs in, that kind of thing. Still got its catch on it. Clearly it used to hold some sort of scientific or copying equipment. We'll have to look that one up and see if we can find out what that was, but you know, who could resist a box that looks like that? Me. And in this unassuming little metal box we have one of Harley's purchases, again with a lovely catch on it, a Cheney I think it says, can't quite make that out, but we opened it up to reveal the contents, and here a lovely old socket set, Imperial. So there's the one that gets all the use in old cars, the 1/2 inch AF, but just lovely quality. Still got a little bit of cardboard in there to stop them rattling around, and there's the, isn't that lovely? Garrington's, it's just lovely quality. But I bet that you may fit one on. Yes, it's your set. That's it, it's 1/2 inch. So has it got a nice action? We never actually tried it, did we? That's nice. And then do the reverse. Is that good? Does it work? Yeah. That'll go on forever, that will, won't it? But yeah, just a lovely quality set. So
it's not the smoothest, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's nice. It sounds like it's sturdy. So that's just a handy size to go in the boot of an old car. It's got all the popular sizes on there. So that'll go in the back of whatever Harley runs as his first old jalopy in years to come. So that was a good find this morning as well. So let's put that there. That's the Lion Menucator. We'll look up. We'll see if we can find out what that was. So let's delve into the box, or the bag rather. And here we have a John Bull tyre repair kit tin. I'm surprised I got to this one because Harley'd already been past it and rejected it for small cars and motorcycles made in England. That's always reassuring. Managed to knock him down a little bit. Compact yet complete. There we go. So there's nothing in it, but again, just a really nice small tin, and that'll look just perfect in the garage. What else have we got in here? This is another one of Harley's purchases. Quite a nice old drill. Hand drill, you've got several of these, haven't you, young man?
I think I counted about 22.
22 drills. So do we think that's the date then? 1942?
Probably.
There's a good chance of it, isn't there? I thought it was a bit older than that, to be honest, but yeah, it's just a nice example, so that'll hang up.
I've only got one other, like, not solid face.
Right.
If you get what I mean.
So that'll hang up in Ned or Fred the Shed. They came from the same... Oh no, they didn't come from the same store, did they? That and that came from the same store. So what else have we got? Now, if you're of a certain age, you may remember these. This is the old clip-on parking light. So back in the day, if you were parking up on the main road, you had to have a parking light, and this would clip. That would clip over the top of the driver's door. So you'd wind your window down, clip that on, and then wind the window back up again, and then you would have this socket arrangement here on the dashboard and plug it in, and that would illuminate red to the rear, white to the front, the clear one to the front. So there are quite a few of these hanging up in the garage, but I thought when I saw it there looking all lost and lonely in the bottom of a box, I thought that'll have to come home with us. That's a proper sort of 50s probably car accessory, that one. And if you've been watching the channel a while, you know I did a video all about spark plugs of all things, and these nice early ones. I've got a Champion 8 Com there. Again, the fat spark plugs, the ones that you can take to pieces. You can actually dismantle these. So you're taking those back now. Okay, he's going to pop those into his shed. So we've got a Champion there, which is exciting, isn't it? And what that was, answers on a postcard for that one. Where's that plug come from? I'm assuming would it have had something extra on there? Who knows? But I've never seen one before, so that can go in the spark plug collection. And here, this one doesn't appear. Well, it's not branded on the ceramic part, but it says Bosch. Oh, there we go. Not sure if you can see that. Bosch DM95T2 Germany. Again, the fat one, so that's got a bit of age to it as well. And then we've got, tied up with a bit of string, the spark plug washers themselves. So again, those will display very nicely in the garage, I think. And for the grand sum of 20p the lot, a collection of these crocodile clips, and they've got a bit of age to them as well. You can see the attached with screws, so yeah, very nice, brand new old stock. Sorry?
23 drills I've
You've got 23 hand drills now, have you?
I just counted up my number plates as well. Guess how many of those
Number
there
plates? Alright, you've got a few.
Yeah.
What, the American ones?
American and British ones.
So how many American plates have you got?
I have a guess.
I don't know, 20?
46.
46 number plates now hanging up. Good grief, young man.
That is the American and British ones.
American and British combined, and the Canadian ones. There are some Canadian, aren't there? And finally for today, this, I've never seen one of these before. This is obviously for checking. We've got tack, so presumably that's to do your revs per minute. Tachometer, we've got setting the dwell, or checking the dwell angle, and something to do with points, I'm assuming. So it's like an engine diagnostic type tester thing. got RPM scale, so there would have been, well, there is a gauge there, but it's gone so cloudy, the plastic, I'm not sure if that'll come back up. I think we'll probably whiz the screw out a bit later and just see if that'll clean up a little bit, just so we can try and see the gauge on it a little bit better. But yeah, it's all chrome plated to when's this? Probably 1950s, 60s. You got 4 and 6 cylinders. Intriguingly, I mean, it's an American item, this, it's really, really heavy. You'd have thought there'd be an option for 8 cylinders, as it's been in America, but maybe that was another one. But that's quite a hefty old thing. Someone's put their name on it, Cyrus. There's information on the back. The model of T112, produced by Cal Equip Company of Otsego, Michigan, made in the USA. There we go. You've got all the instructions on the back there. So yeah, just a great old thing to hang up in the garage. I can't see me ever using it, but I will just see if I can clean that up a little bit. But yeah, that's just a quick look at some of the gems we found this morning on this particularly sunny day. Well, the weather's warming up a bit now, so let's go and get a bit of shade in the garage. And I think we will just give these things a little bit of a clean up. While I say these things, why not get a bit of chrome cleaner on that before we hang it up from the roof somewhere. And this, I think, will also come up looking pretty nice. The chrome isn't actually too bad. There's a little bit of tarnishing on it, but I think with a bit of chrome cleaner and polish on top of that, I think that'll come up looking pretty special. So to begin with, get some of the old, what have we got, Auto Sol, we'll use a bit of that, and I'm sure those will come up really nice. There's not much else to do on this, maybe just the oily rag because it's a bit grubby. Other than that, then we'll just find somewhere to put that, a little corner for that. And the part plugs, well, they can go with all the other ones, but the priority I think is clean up the chrome bits on that and that. Actually, before I get on polishing this, I'm going to take that screw out and see if we can remove this plastic lens, just to see if that can be cleaned up. I gave that a quick go over. That's just improved. I didn't go too berserk, but it just looks a bit more looked after now. Yeah, hopefully this screw will come out successfully. There we go. Is that just turning? I think that's just turning, so I need to be turning it and also pulling up on this at the same time, and hopefully then it'll come off. Well, there we go, just a few minutes with the polish, the old trusty quick wax on the Auto Sol, and it's come up looking better. I'm sure a bit more time spent on it will get it looking even better again, but I managed to clean up the gauge, the dial a little bit, so you can see a little bit more of what's going on. I mean, I don't know if I'll ever use this, probably not, but yeah, it's just quite a rare old diagnostic machine, an American thing as well. Interesting, it's 4 or 6 cylinders a setting, so presumably they did another model for the V8s, the 8-cylinder cars, because you know in the 60s V8s were all the rage in America, so there wouldn't have been that many 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder cars. Perhaps that's why this one was sold here in the UK. How did this end up here when it was built in Michigan? Yeah. But yeah, I think it's just quite a cool thing, so we'll find somewhere to hang that up. Same for the oldie worldy parking lamp. Yeah, jolly good. Today's little challenge is to move the Dodge trailer. In order to move this, we need to move a couple of cars out of the way first and then bring the Jeep down to connect this up and then pull it out of the way. The plan is to bring the grey Fergie down here because I'd like to do a little bit of work on that, and it's much handy if it's close to the garage. And plus, if I ever get around to getting a shelter put up here, the trailer will need to be gone anyway, so it'd be much better if this was out of the way. And as the weather's not looking too bad today, not too hot, not too cold, not too wet, then it's probably the perfect conditions. So I will go and recruit my youthful assistant, and we'll go and fire up the Standard and the MX-5 to begin with. Okie dokie, right. Let's get the trusty Standard moved. Right. So, what do we need? The fuel thing, which I think we've already got out. So I'll ping this open. I'll try and do it single-handedly if we can, which I can't. Can you do the honour, sir?
Yeah, I'll do it single-handedly.
Go on then, you do it single-handedly.
That counts. That's one hand. That counts.
I guess. Right. as it's been sitting a little while, rather than churn away on the battery too much, we'll prime up the fuel anyway. But I think there is a bit of a blockage in the oldie carburettor.
Is there?
I think there must be something somewhere, so I've primed that up.
I suppose it's a little bit grimy.
Yeah, so if we give it a little squirteroony, then it'll start. First time, I'm sure. Battery's on. Yep, is that on?
Yeah.
Splendid. Right, let's give it a go then. Foot to the floor. I'm sure it'll go. What did I tell you? Ye of little faith. Still a little bit tappy at the top, but it doesn't seem to affect it unduly. Yeah, it's alright that, isn't it? It's not too bad. Right. Might be a bit of choke, possibly. And off he goes. Yeah, I'd very much like to get this running again. It hasn't run for probably a couple of years. I did do a video a little while ago all about firing this one up, but it probably wants a bit of a service now. Fresh fuel, clean the points, that kind of thing. It'd be quite handy to actually have it on the button, because moving things like the big old trailer would be a lot easier if I could rig up a tow ball for this. Should be alright there. Yeah, just leave it there.
Yeah. Like it.
Actually, maybe just go a bit further up, actually, and it's out of the way. I'm not sure about all that way, but any excuse. Look at that. Should be okay there, out of the way for today's manoeuvrings. Right, next, move the big cat. It's looking a little bit grubby. It's been very windy and a bit rainy recently. And even though I only washed it the other day, it's well splattered with bits and bobs, but never mind. That'll be the alarm. It appears to have an alarm. Right, next thing to do is take off the cover. It's been sheeted up for quite a while. Lose the bungee cords. Quite a few. It does tend to cop the wind a little bit round here. So yeah, I can't really do this too easily. So we'll come back once the cover has been removed, I think. I think Harley may have found one or two slugs. Sorry?
Is it like 5?
Yeah. Lovely. It does get a bit damp on the cover.
Look at the slugs.
Look
at all the slugs.
Lovely.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
So see,
the little ones.
Yeah, see all that math revision's coming useful, isn't it?
Right, there's just no need.
Right, so we shall slide this off and give the trail a bit of an airing. There are fewer slugs. So yeah, it wouldn't harm to get a bit of air around it. So I think.
Snails are fine.
Right, let's try and give it a bit of a. Not sure how successful this will be. It's quite a big cover, this is. Might have to unhook it from the other side, I think. And there we go, cover off, and yeah, a bit of fresh air around it won't do any harm at all. So this actually predates Big Dodge, it came with it, but this was used pre-war and just post-war to carry a racing MG. Then when the big 3.8 Alpha came along, it used to be towed in this behind a modified V8 Ford, but it was a bit of a struggle I think because the Alpha was a big car. So yeah, the big Alpha used to fit in there, so that's when the Dodge was acquired. There's the original winch. And there's the crown wheel and pinion for a racing MG. They made up that winch from some spare parts for the old racing MG that just happened to be kicking around.
Was that like a canvas thing?
Yeah. Yeah, originally it was like canvas.
Like this trailers like that. And there used to be like an Alpha that sold for like 6 mil or something 10 years ago.
I know, yeah.
Like just there.
Yeah, there used to be an ex-Nuvolari Alfa Romeo sat in there. Very similar sign writing to that on Big Dodge, but this is just so original. Originally there was a frame with canvas on here and on the sides, and over time it was gradually panelled in aluminium. It's a pretty unique survivor, this is. There you go. Not when. Some of the sign writing has faded away. But if you'd like me to do a proper video on this trailer sometime, just let me know in the comments please. But today's priority is just to move. It would actually already rag up quite well, I think. Just to preserve.
Oil over all of it.
Yeah, there used to be the Pegasus and RD Poor Motor Racing written on here somewhere, and if you look in the right angle sometimes you can still make out where the writing was. It had various different liveries over the years. I've seen different sponsors on the side of it.
The Notwen might need touching in a little bit.
Yeah, the white parts of the Notwen sign have disappeared, but everything else is pretty much there. Originally it used to have spoked wheels, Y wheels with knock-ons, and it had metal mud guards, and they were gradually replaced over time. But yeah, it's quite an interesting old thing. I took this to a car show once.
Is it still towable?
Oh yeah, it tows quite well. It's quite heavy.
Like line up, I don't know, the pickup or something to that, and then you could drive with that on the back.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, you should do that.
Right, let's go and get the Jeep and bring it down here. So just manhandled it over so that we don't actually have to drive, hopefully, on the grass, because that never wins me many brownie points. That's close enough, I think we can get it on from there. Whew, right, well that's on the hitch. Note the old style hitch. So you can start to move it forward slowly, I think. Okay, if you just start edging it forward and just keep an eye on your mirrors. Have you ever towed anything before?
Maybe we've done this before.
No way, maybe. Okay. As close as you can. Alright, come this way now, that way. Okay. That's it, nice and slow. Yeah, I think we're clear. Just a bit of final manoeuvring into position. We're not far off. Yeah, that's bob on there. I've just put it on a piece of wood, otherwise it tends to sink into the driveway a bit. Yeah, I think that's pretty good there. Right, I'll go and get the jack and then we can get it off here. Okie dokie, next little job is to move the Fergie. Like I say, it hasn't run for a couple of years, so I'd rather give it a bit of a service and a bit of a checking over before we try and start it. So I think the easiest thing to do is we will tow it over the other side of the drive and then push it the last bit of the way, because it's downhill there, so that makes it a little bit easy. Hey?
I'm so getting my...
You're getting your gloves, are you? Yes. Yeah, the steering wheel, it gets a bit black to hold this, so Harley will be on steering duty on the tractor and I'll pull it with the Jeep. I'm sure he's done this on several occasions. We've done this before, haven't you? Yeah.
POV Ferguson towing. Driven this thing a few times. I think it was the first ever sort of vehicle I'd ever driven, but recently we haven't really had it going, which might be something that we have to address sometime soon.
Yeah, I think we can push it the rest of the way now. Yeah, it comes in useful sometimes. You could do with a bit of air in this front tyre.
Really?
Hmm.
Add the other one, I reckon.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, probably.
It looks a bit soft. I was toying with the idea of selling this, as we don't really use it a great deal.
Can I help?
Yeah, I'm helping. I'm giving valuable instructions. Right, it's downhill now anyway, isn't it? Ugh. There you go. A man of your strength. And now time to start putting things back again, starting with the Jaguar. Fortunately he's had a fair bit of practice with automatics already, or with the Jeep and so on. Good practice for using mirrors. Just make sure we can get the garage door open and shut. Yep. Yep, I think that'll do. Oh, it's locked. Yep, that'll do there, thank you.
Would it not go in that bit back there if we cleared out some stuff?
Yeah, but it needs tidying up a bit down there, so it's okay here, and it gets a bit of the sun during the day here. It's a bit like musical chairs, this is. That'll do. Well, there we go, that's all safely tucked away again. I will give it a bit of a brush down just to spruce it up a little bit. Yeah, it's a pretty good cover on that one. It's been there probably 2 years, maybe something like that. They don't last forever, but if we get another year or two out of it, I'll be quite happy. We're here today at Oulton Park just for a spot of testing. It's just a random test day, not quite sure what's going to be out and about today. Probably quite a lot of modern, so we won't be worrying too much about those. But over here is a 7 Series BMW and E23, because tomorrow it is a big BMW gathering here at Oulton, and there are a number of factory heritage cars also going on display, and I believe this is probably one of them. This dates to the late 1970s, about 1978, somewhere around about there. What a great looking car that is. Very similar, slightly lighter shade to one that a friend of mine's dad had in the early 1980s. That was a 728, a 2.8 litre with carburettor. This is probably one of the fuel injected cars. It's even got an original tax disc in the window. Very nice too. Yeah, very flat-sided cars, but like the 6 Series coupes. This is a 733i, and at the time the numbering on the boot would tell you the size of the engine. So this is a 7 Series with a 3.3 litre version of BMW's famous and fantastic sounding straight 6. I'm not sure if any of these were ever produced with manual gearboxes, but I imagine most of them were autos like this one. Yeah, great to see this. This was the replacement, I suppose, for the BMW E3 series saloons of the early 1970s. Quite an advanced car for the day, really. I think they were all 6-cylinder, this particular shape of car. I was offered my friend's dad's 728 for the princely sum of £100 many years ago. It had been sat in his garage for a little while, but at the time I was still living at home and probably still a teenager, so the thought of taking on a perhaps non-running 7 Series BMW while possibly even still at school probably wasn't the best idea, and I walked away from that one. But certainly quite a rare sight to see one of these E23 era 7 Series now. There's already a few BMWs gathering for tomorrow's activities. And on the end here, 325i Cabriolet from about 1987, the E30 era of BMW 3 Series 4-seat tourer. Very nice too. This one's got the 2.5 litre straight 6 with fuel injection. Yeah, plenty of room in the back there as well. Whether this car is going to be on display or it's just someone who's come here today just to watch a testing session at Oulton, I'm not quite sure, but we thought we'd come over and just grab a few clips of any interesting cars that we found here today. And so far we've found a couple. In here, we saw this one going around before. This is the Formula 5000 Lola from the 1970s. A really wild single-seater open-wheel Formula of the 1970s. A gaggle of older Volvos here. So what's this, an 850? Looks that way. Next to that, the Volvo 240 with GLT alloy wheels, the Estate from about 1986. What a practical car that is. It's got the prancing moose. Bit of a play on the prancing horse of Ferrari. Looks like someone's kipping in this one for the weekend. Hope they're not in there at the moment.
That keeps a few of them busy, and then I think a lot of the guys just come up for the weekends and get some. Yeah, not at all.
And look at this over in the camping area. This fantastic little BMW 700, little rear engine car. What an amazing little car that is. I mean, it was cars like this and the little BMW Isetta three-wheelers that really kept BMW going throughout the 1960s before the launch of the, say, the 2002 or the Neue Klasse cars, the 2000s and the 1800 saloons. But this 700 is a proper rarity, especially here in the UK. I remember when we were in Portugal a few years ago, I did find a couple of these in the garage, all dusty. One of them was part restored and the other was just sort of as parked. But over here in the UK, that is a very rare sight indeed. From the rear, it's shades of, well, a bit of Triumph Herald perhaps even in there. Maybe a little Auto Union, something along those lines. A B-Reg, a 1964. And it's even like the older style of BMW badge. The typeface they use is slightly different to that nowadays. The LS 700. Luxus. So presumably that's sort of the German equivalent of maybe a GL in this country. What a rare car that is. Presumably that'll be going and parking up alongside the 7 Series before tomorrow, which is the main day, the main gathering of BMWs. But even look at the interior. I love the old map and the driving gloves. And there's something that is very similar to a feature that we had on our 1920s Dodge Brothers. A lock on the gear shift mechanism, so presumably you put it in gear and you can lock it in gear as a safety device. That is something we had on our 1924 Dodge. Proper old school Radiomobile radio in the dash as well. And I love the interior trim, complete with matching hat as well on the back seat. Yeah, what a beautifully turned out car. Even the headlining is just lovely in it. But yeah, that is it. Oh, I like the pipe, hadn't spotted that. Very nice. Just imagine wearing that hat and the pipe, driving along in this little 700 in the 1960s. I could certainly see myself doing that. It's got a June 65 tax disc in the window. Yeah, what a treat to see that here today. Little Fiat X19 hiding away. Well, we're just on the way back from Oulton Park, and I remembered that on Google Earth a little while ago I spotted this Harrier, Royal Navy Harrier, parked up on this industrial park just outside an MOT garage over there, and I thought we've got to go and see if we can find it. So we had a bit of a drive around this industrial estate, and here it is. What a fantastic gate guardian that is. I'd love to know what the story is with this. That really is quite a gate guardian. That is just fantastic. As you might know, if you've been watching the channel for a while, I do have a soft spot for old aeroplanes. As a kid, I used to play an old Vampire T11 that was parked upon a farm. So that's where the engine would have been in there, obviously. And then you've got these movable ducts on either side for sort of varied, vectored thrust, something along those lines they call it. And these could take off vertically, vertical takeoff and landing, fly backwards. I well remember air shows seeing Harriers doing their tricks in front of the crowd. What a fantastic old thing this is. ZE691 is the registration number. Yeah, that is very, very cool. I love that. I love the fact it's here and you can just come and have a look at it. I had a quick word with the gent in the office just to make sure it was alright. Never like to assume, but yeah, what a fantastic thing this is. If I had a sponge, I'd give it a quick rinse. What a fantastic old survivor this is. Of course, I don't think we fly any Harriers now in this country. We flogged them all off. It just didn't seem a bit of a shame, considering these were invented here. Later on they were produced in the States. It's very much a British design and invention, the original Harrier, or the Kestrel as the early prototype was called. Yeah, what a cool thing that is. Yeah, so these nozzles, they literally swivel and direct the air. So if you want to go up, they swivel that way and the thrust goes down forwards, and then you can swing them the other way and you can fly the thing backwards, which is pretty impressive. This one's flying days are over, but hopefully it'll have a long retirement here just in the outskirts of Winsford. Well, hi folks, it's another day. It's a breezy day and we are down in the V8 Pilot. That's the former RAF Slape Airfield in sunny Shropshire. And the reason we have come down here today is because that magnificent aircraft in the background, the Avro Anson, is doing a series of pleasure flights this weekend. So we thought we'd come down here and do a bit of good old plane spotting. What better car to come down here in than the old Ford Pilot. There we go, tucked it over here out of harm's way with some fine old wartime buildings behind it. And this is the old wartime control tower. On two separate occasions in the Second World War, aircraft bombers veered off the runway, which is just over there, and smashed into this building, and yet somehow it still survives and is still in use today. Up until just a few years ago, this was an all over silver paint job, and it received this lick of paint maybe 3-4 years ago perhaps, and I think I have some footage somewhere of it in its previous guise. I have a funny feeling they're actually putting it away again. Apparently bookings to go for a pleasure flight were available for today and tomorrow. Today is Saturday, tomorrow is Sunday, so maybe there aren't any bookings for today. Right, well, I think we'll head back again. Well, back at base again and a successful trip out in the V8 Pilot. That's probably the longest run I've done in it since I reworked the ignition system a few months ago. So that was really, you know, you kind of build up in confidence with these things, and that was I think we can tick that off as a successful mission today. It's a shame the Ansem wasn't flying, but it was just too windy. I had a quick chat with the pilot as we were leaving, and he said it was just a bit too windy, the crosswind, to safely operate. It was just beyond its operating limit, so it's just one of those things, so they had to put it way back in the hangar again. Anyway, at least this pilot did have a successful run out.